Hey guys, JamesMCD Reviews here. This is a video I never expected I'd make. I don't really like covering heavy topics on this show. I always like to keep it fun. Plus, everyone else in the film space had kind of already given their thoughts on this news, and I didn't feel like I had anything new to add. And then I needed a topic for my Writing and Rhetoric final, and well, here we are. So I'm sure by now you guys have heard the news that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences are going to be implementing a new inclusion initiative into the Oscars. This initiative will go into effect in 2024 and will basically require all potential nominees for Best Picture to meet two of the following categories. 1. On-screen representation, themes, and narratives. At least one lead actor, 30% of the ensemble, and the main storyline and themes must center around an underrepresented group or groups. 2. Creative leadership and project team. At least 2 creative leaders and at least 30% of the crew must be comprised of members from an underrepresented group or groups. 3. Industry access and opportunities. The studio and distribution team must offer paid apprenticeships and training opportunities to people of underrepresented groups. 4. Audience development. The marketing team behind the film must include members of underrepresented groups. Now, like many people who just read the headlines of this news, I thought this was one of the dumbest and most pointless things the Academy could have done. I mean, the Academy have already been criticized for being woke after Parasite won Best Picture this year, so I can't imagine this was doing them any favors. After reading through the fine print, I will admit I can kind of see the benefits to this, but I still think this is a really bad idea that has the potential to do more harm for progressiveness than good. In fact, this whole issue ties back to a problem that's been present in our world for years now. Diversity versus tokenism. And yes, there is a difference. Diversity is defined as the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different genders, sexual orientations, etc. In the simplest possible terms, a diverse world is a world where everything is fair and equal for everybody. Everyone gets the same opportunities, everyone gets treated the same, everyone gets the same wages, etc. Tokenism is defined as the practice of making only a perfunctory or symbolic effort to do a particular thing, especially by recruiting a small number of people from underrepresented groups in order to give the appearance of sexual or racial equality within a workforce. Basically, tokenism is a publicity tactic to give the illusion of diversity and to make your company or brand look good. Now, even though these two terms seem to be easily distinguished by definition, you might find it may be hard to spot the difference in the real world. But there are actually a few very important ways to distinguish whether a company is practicing diversity or tokenism. The first being percentages. How many people of a different race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and so on are present in the work environment? According to psychological research from iSearchNet.com, tokenism may occur when members of an underrepresented group comprise less than 15% of the total environmental context they are a part of. They also state that if there is only one member of a particular group, he or she is considered to have solo status. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that if you walk into your local Walmart and see only 3 black people working there that Walmart practices tokenism, but it is something to consider. Another factor to think about is the treatment of certain employees. Now, the discussion of women and minorities not getting paid the same wages has been discussed since the 60s. But beyond just the wage gap, how employees are treated by managers, supervisors, and other employees is a big factor in determining whether or not tokenism is being practiced. Are all employees getting enough hours? Are they getting enough to do at work? Are they being respected by their coworkers? These are all things to think about. Since this discussion mainly has to do with film, here are some examples of tokenism on screen. One very obvious one is when a member of an underrepresented group just appears as a background character. No particular reason behind it, they just exist to be there. A fairly recent example of this is the lesbian kiss that appeared at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. Totally out of nowhere, unprompted, in the background, and easy to edit out for overseas audiences. Another example of tokenism in film is when a person from an underrepresented group plays a stereotype or a caricature of themselves. Having a black character be a gangster, having gay characters act super flamboyant and over the top, having all female characters act either ditzy and clueless or slutty and boy crazy. People will say any representation is good representation, but that is just not the case. If you were a gay kid in high school, would you point to Simon from Love, Simon or Josh from Freaky as proper queer representation? And with all this in mind, let's jump back to the Oscars Inclusion Initiative. Where does it fall on the scale? Well, at this point, it's hard to tell. Academy President David Rubin and Academy CEO Don Hudson have stated, quote, "The aperture must widen to reflect our diverse global population in both the creation of motion pictures and in the audience who connects with them." So it's clear that this was put into play with the best intentions in mind. But then again, so was Cuties, and look how that turned out. So let's look at this from both angles. What are some of the positives to come out of this? Well, the obvious one is the encouragement for a more diverse film environment, on screen and off. The past 10 years have been really good in terms of forwarding progression in film. We've seen female empowerment movies like Wonder Woman take the world by storm. We've seen movies like Get Out spin the horror genre on its head and offer some strong commentary about racial injustice. We've seen films from overseas such as Roma and Parasite gain major awards recognition, and in some cases, even win. That is honestly amazing considering where we've come from. But we can always do better. Maybe this means we'll have more international films get the chance to be nominated. Other countries make movies too, and yet we only nominate 5 a year. I think part of that is because many foreign films don't make it over to America, but still, that seems like a good thing that could come from this initiative. Another thing that was actually pointed out to me by a fellow classmate was that a lot of modern films fall under these parameters anyway. I listed off certain examples earlier, but there are a lot of mainstream movies that have very diverse backgrounds that go unnoticed by the Academy. They have started to correct this over the past 2 years, nominating films like Bohemian Rhapsody, Black Panther, Joker, and Jojo Rabbit, but it's still good to draw attention to films that people have actually seen. But with that said, let's talk about the cons that come with this. The main concern I have, and the thesis that so many articles that have covered this topic have put forward, is that the Academy is now promoting tokenism. By setting these parameters that need to be followed, you're risking people hiring members of underrepresented groups purely to complete a checklist. Regardless of whether or not that was the intention, it won't stop people from doing that. Yes, getting different types of people involved in the art of filmmaking is great, but there has to be a reason behind it. And the reason can't just be, well, the chart says. You have to think about whether or not you're hiring the right person for the job. And not doing so goes right back to what I mentioned earlier. If you hire someone but then have them not doing anything, not only are you wasting space on your set, but you're also undermining the eager crew member whose only reason for being there is to meet a quota. On top of that, another problem that has risen from this is ironically the potential nomination for more mainstream movies. While I do think the Academy should start nominating more mainstream films, I don't want them to take this as we should nominate any movie under the sun that has diversity behind it. Cuties has diversity in front of and behind the camera. Does this mean it should get nominated for Best Picture? Absolutely not. And this issue actually leads me to my final question that sprung up from this discussion. Does diversity in film actually matter? I understand that the way I worded that seems like a very polarizing question, with a very obvious answer. Of course diversity matters. We need to see more representation on the big screen. All lives matter, etc. But here's the thing. I'm not trying to imply that diversity doesn't matter. It absolutely does. What I want to know is, does diversity in film really matter if the product isn't good? Sure, anyone can make a movie with a female lead, but wouldn't you rather get behind a good movie with a female lead? There's been this sort of stigma that's risen over the past few years that diversity equals good. If a movie features heavy representation of race, ethnicity, gender, etc., that acts as kind of immunity from criticism. And if, God forbid, someone says anything bad about it, then they are a racist, sexist, whatever other ist there is out there. But that is not and should not be the case. Representation does not automatically mean your movie is good. And if a film is lacking in quality, then you should have the right to call them out on it without risk of getting canceled. Captain Marvel had a female as the lead character, and it was dull as dishwater. The 2020 remake of Mulan took a very inspiring Chinese female role model and turned her into a flawless warrior with no personality. A Wrinkle in Time was full of diverse actors, and it was one of the worst movies of that year. Strange that these are all from Disney, but anyway. The things that make these movies bad aren't the fact that they're racially charged or sexually charged or whatever. It's the fact that they aren't putting anything forward in the story or writing to get us to care about the diversity being put forward. Our main character is a girl. Okay, cool, what else? And I think that's where my main issue lies with this whole initiative. I understand the Academy is trying to push for more representation, but why not push for representation that's actually good? The past 2 years of Best Picture nominees have not only been really fantastic, thought-provoking, artistic films, but they also have had heavy diversity backing them. Why not just keep on that path instead of trying to force an agenda? Ultimately, I already know I'm going to get slated for talking about this because I'm a straight white male and I have no idea what I'm talking about. And yeah, I'm sure I've gotten a few things wrong, but not only is this something that I'm really interested in, but I think it's important for everyone of all walks of life to feel comfortable having this kind of conversation. Everyone wants to be treated fairly, whether that's at work, school, or in movies. And more roles should be given to people of different colors, creeds, nationalities, genders, and so on. But they should be given out of confidence, not out of sympathy. And with this new initiative being put into place, the Academy seems like it's feeding into that harmful mindset that any representation is good representation. The focus of Best Picture shouldn't be which film had the most diverse cast and crew. It should be which film was technically the best, had the best acting, writing, directing, whether or not it had a good story, and whether or not it had important and relevant messages to deliver. Whether or not it had racial or ethnic or sexual representation at the helm should be a cool bonus to inspire future generations that no matter what you look like or where you come from, if you have a good story to share, you have the right to share it. And with that, I throw it over to you. What do you guys make of all this? Did any of the points that I brought up in this video spark a conversation or make you think about the world nowadays? I'm very curious to hear some of the responses of not just like your thoughts on the Academy's new initiative, but the presence that diversity actually has in modern media. And do you think diversity actually matters if the product that they're putting out isn't good? Let me know all that down in the comments, but I'd advise you to keep it respectful and actually educated as opposed to just hurling 7th grade insults at me. I put this out there to start a conversation, and if you guys want to continue it, that's great. But if you are just going to, cancel me and call me a racist for having an opinion, then, I guess I can't stop you from doing that either, but still. Thank you guys for watching. This is a very new type of video for me, and I kind of liked doing it. If you guys gravitate towards it, I might do some more in the future, but who knows? We'll see what happens. I am going to be coming back very soon in a couple of weeks. I'm going back to Florida for Christmas break, and I'm going to have some new videos there, including a review of Soul and Wonder Woman 1984, as well as the long-awaited best and worst movies of 2020 list. That's going to be a very fun video to shoot. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to all of the potential new subscribers from my Writing and Rhetoric class. I hope you all enjoyed this video. And I hope you took something away from it. So until next time, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on what I'm posting. Follow me on all my social media, subscribe to my main channel. All that stuff will be in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later.